Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. This lecture is discussing your first 3 years as a freelance translator and how to set yourself for success. Let's go.
For International Translation Day. First of all, a big shout out to Drew and all the team at Proscom. What an amazing job they do in putting this event together. So really amazing event, and I hope you enjoy it and I hope you find it really useful. This session is all about your first 3 years as a freelance translator, how to set yourself up for success. So this one is really for those of you who are just getting started. What am I going to look at today? Well, I'm going to talk about why the first 3 years are so important. I'm going to be discussing mindset, the fact that you are a business, and then I'm going to run through some of the tools of the trade, if you like, so your website, your Proscom profile, and I'm also going to be talking about building a portfolio, networking, CAT tools, and other ways to find clients. So let's get straight into it. The first thing is, why are those first 3 years so important? Why 3 years? Well, I could have called this the first year or the first 2 years or the first 4 years, but I think 3 years is a really appropriate time frame when you are getting started as a freelance translator. And I think that the things that you do in those first 3 years are really going to define your success and your direction in the future. In other words, this really is going to set the tone for what happens in later years, the way that you set yourself up, the types of clients that you look for, how you organize your business, all that kind of thing is really going to have a huge impact further down the line. So what kind of things should you be thinking about in the first 3 years? Well, you should be really using this time to find your focus, to find your direction, to understand what area or areas you are really going to hone in on. It's also time to develop your skills. So as well as looking for clients and everything else, you're going to be actually getting better as a freelance translator during this time. And even though you might not consider yourself the finished article just yet in terms of your skills, that doesn't mean that you can't go out to the market and win huge amounts of business. You absolutely can. And in some ways, starting out, you have advantages. Everyone has advantages and disadvantages based on their particular set of circumstances. And there's something wonderful about starting out. There's something wonderful about being in those first few years in terms of being new to the industry, in terms of your energy, in terms of your attitude. You're likely to have more energy than someone who's been doing the same thing for 20 years. So use that energy. You might not have the skill set that they have just yet, but really you should be enjoying this time, developing your skills and learning about what is going to work for you. Because one thing that I've noticed over the years is that everyone has a different approach. Everyone has a slightly different way of doing things. There are many freelance translators out there who look exclusively for direct clients and work exclusively with direct clients. There are many other translators out there who work exclusively with agencies. Others have a balance, 30% direct clients and 70% translation agencies. Of course, those percentages could be completely different. Some people choose to work with clients in a certain location. Others have a really diversified global portfolio of translation clients. I think this first few years is really about understanding what is going to work for you, and also understanding that there is no right answer. It's great to talk to colleagues, great to interact with people in different situations. I'll be talking about that a little bit later on. But it's also about finding your own way and finding your own path. And I believe in something that I like to call designing your business and and designing your translation business, you really can start to direct yourself in a certain way. So let's say, for example, that you've taken the decision that ultimately you want to work exclusively with direct clients in a certain location. Well, while at the beginning you might not be able to have enough business to do that, it is something that you can work towards. And that's why this 3-year period is so important, because if you start working towards it, you start putting things in place, you start marketing in the right way, you will attract certain types of clients and you will start to build the portfolio of clients that is going to work for you, or you will start to design your business. This is also the time when you should be building your team. Well, what do I mean by that? Because some of you are saying, well, hey, it's just me. I'm a freelance translator on my own. And yeah, that might well be the case, but you still need a team of people. What kind of people do you need? Well, you might need someone to help you with your website. You might need someone to help you with your accounting, or you might need someone to help you with your marketing. You might need family in your team to support you in some way as well. So I think those first few years are really key in terms of building that team, building the right people around you, those people who are going to support you in difficult times, those people who are going to help you, those people who may even lend you money when you have bills that need to be paid. It might be something as simple as that. You really do need to build a support team though, because even if you are exclusively a freelancer, you're not running any kind of outsourcing business, you still need to build that team, and the first 3 years is the right time to do that. I find that there are people with me in my business who have been around for many, many, many years, who've helped me for many years, and a lot of those really do date back to those early days. So if you set up the right relationships at the outset, then they will really serve you well in the long term. Another thing that I like to encourage at the beginning is to attend lots and lots of meetings. These might be face-to-face meetings, they might be online meetings or interactions of some kind. But I think at the beginning, you should really be trying to meet as many people as possible and tell as many people as possible about you, about your business, about your story. And it's not all about you, of course, it's about how you can help other people. That really should be the focus. But too many people make the mistake of setting themselves up with a skill set, but then they're not getting the message out there. And the way to get the message out there is to meet lots and lots of people, talk to them about the services you offer, tell them how you can help them. And it's quite incredible how then some of those other people will tell other people and other businesses, and that will really help you to get more and more contacts and ultimately make more and more sales. So really, really important what happens in these first 3 years. Another thing that I like to talk about a lot is mindset. If you have the right attitude, that really is going to take you so much further. And I would encourage you to think big right from the outset. Now, let me clarify that. That doesn't mean that you need to be thinking in terms of having a business with 10 or 50 or 100 employees located in 50 different countries around the world. That could be something that you aspire to, but for most of you, that's not going to be the case. So for most of you, what do I mean about thinking big? It's not necessarily in terms of numbers of employees or anything like that. It's in terms of creating the business that you want to create. Where do you want to be in 5 years' time? Do you want to have a portfolio of direct clients and agencies? Do you want to have the ability to choose your clients and to turn down those clients with whom you don't want to work? Do you want to work in a location independent manner? Do you want to only accept translation work in a certain area of specialization? All of these things are things that you should be thinking about right from the beginning. And I repeat, you might not be able to make that happen immediately. You might have a financial necessity or financial need that, let's be honest, it means that at the beginning, you take any work you can get. And you know what? There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But don't lose that ability to think big and to really focus on designing your business. You should also be thinking about collaborating with other people. I like to say that collaboration is the new competition. When I started out in business, it always seemed a little bit like everyone was competing with everyone else for the same clients. And I think the global marketplace has done quite a lot to change that. And that's why I think that collaboration really can help you to get a lot of new business. If you know other translators in other locations, if you know other translators who work in other areas of specialization or in other language pairs, then you can help them out and they can help you out in turn. So that's something that you should really be thinking about from the beginning, building your network, building your team. You should also use this time to experiment, to try different things out. You shouldn't be afraid to try different things out and fail. You might decide, obviously, to try translation. You might try translation in different language pairs. You might take on some editing work or some proofreading work. You might have another arm to your business. You might try small clients, translating birth certificates and so on. You might try bigger pieces of work. You might try outsourcing and so on and so on. So you can try all of these things. And before you build up your business further, and before you build up a certain responsibility that comes with a successful enterprise or a successful freelancing operation, now is the time to try things out. Don't be afraid to try different things out. Of course, you should have the experience and ability to be able to deliver quality solutions to your clients at all times, but don't be afraid to experiment and learn from mistakes. Let your mistakes guide you. Let your mistakes tell you what is not working and where you need to change tack. And let your clients guide you as well. What kinds of translation work do they continue to ask for on a regular basis? It's much easier when your business is in some way guided by your clients, because in that way you know that you're on the right track, you know that you're doing the right thing. And that's where those meetings can really help out. The more you talk to people, the more you find out about how your business is going to work, and you really find what people want, and you really are then able to put solutions together to solve particular clients' problems. That's what this is all about, solving problems. Another thing that I like to talk about, and another thing I would really encourage you to do, and I think successful freelance translators do right from the beginning, is to act like a business. And if you are one person on your own and you have a freelancing operation, that is still a business. It absolutely is a business. But you need to act like you run a business. You need to think in a professional manner. If you act like you are carrying out favors for people, or you act like you are carrying out some kind of hobby or performing some kind of hobby, then people will respond accordingly. One of the things that I've noticed is that people react to all of these indicators that we give out. So if you don't take yourself seriously, if you don't take your business seriously, then no one else will. And one of the areas where I've noticed this the most is actually with family and friends. So family and friends sometimes don't really understand what it's like to work from home as a freelancer, and they might not completely understand that you have a real job, or not a job, a real business, a real activity. And this is something that you are really, really focusing on and making it work. So it's important that you act the part and make others understand that you are taking things seriously. Let me give you a really quick example. I heard a story of a freelancer who was working from home, and because he or she was working from home, well, the rest of the family, they didn't really take what that person was doing that seriously, and they would ask them things to do. They would ask them to do things like go out for the shopping or do some errands. Oh, well, you're at home, you can take care of this. And unfortunately, if you let people, put you into that box, then you will end up doing those kind of things. And you don't really want to be doing those kind of things in your working day. So you are responsible for putting your barriers in place. If you work from home, it's especially important that you have those barriers and that you have a strong work ethic that is going to carry you through the day and through the week. So just think about how you are acting. Think about the signals that you are sending out to others. And are those signals making you look professional or not? So as it says there on the right, keep calm and act like a boss. I'd also encourage you to focus on metrics from day one. Measure things in your business. These indicators can really help you to understand where your business is at, because sometimes we actually forget what's going on in our business, or sometimes we think we had a better month than we actually did, or a worse month than we actually did. So I'd really encourage you to measure things. Try and select those 2 or 3 important metrics each week and write them down and manage an Excel spreadsheet. How many meetings did you attend? How much did you actually sell this week or this month, and so on? That will really help you to keep tabs on your business. And it will also get you through the tough times, because you might think, oh, I've had a really, really tough year, or I've had a tough couple of months. But if you look back at the numbers, you will see some positives in there. And if you keep putting in the positive numbers, then eventually you will get those positive results. Now is also the time to develop your business model. And I would also say that successful freelance translators have a business model. You don't, I repeat, you don't need to do what everyone else is doing, but you do need to have some kind of direction. You do need to have some kind of idea where you are heading and the type of business that you would like to build. So are you going after agency or direct clients? Are you looking to specialize, or are you looking to diversify? Now, the interesting thing about that one is that, again, there's no right or wrong answer. There are many successful freelance translators out there who specialize in a particular area, and clients really like to deal with specialists these days. The global marketplace has opened up the opportunity, or the ability. It's now much easier to find specialists on the internet than it used to be. And therefore, specializing can certainly help you rise to the top in a tough market. So if you're a French to English translator, well, that's great, but there are thousands of French to English translators out there. But if you're a French to English translator who focuses on a particular niche, let's say within the area of medicine, then that is going to allow you to develop your skills and really get that more specialized business. And of course, within medicine, it's a big area. There are many subsectors that you might choose to specialize in. So that's one thing to think about. You also might choose to diversify, and you might choose to work in, for example, editing or voiceover or tutoring of some kind. So there are many, many options. What I would say about diversifying is that it can be a great strategy, but you should try and avoid being a jack of all trades, and you really should try to become to a certain degree, an expert in each area in which you diversify. But don't just leave these things to chance. Have a plan. Think about it. Where would you like to go? This is what you should be doing within the first 3 years of your business. You should also be thinking about whether you're going to go for volume, or whether you're going to go for these specialized texts. We all know there's been some downward pressure on pricing within the translation industry. And one of the ways to really maintain, or even increase in some cases, your income is work with certain tools, CAT tools, even machine translation, and develop processes that are going to allow you to deliver higher volumes. So you might get a lower price per word, but a lower rate per word, but you are going to be producing greater volumes of work. Or you might choose to go down the specialized route. And let me mention machine translation and CAT tools. Well, machine translation had a bit of a bad name within the translation industry for a number of years. But I think a number of translators are now really understanding how to harness the power of machine translation, potentially or usually in conjunction with CAT tools, in order to produce higher quality work that has fewer errors, and also to produce those higher volumes. Finally, which market or markets would you like to work in? You can now, of course, be based in New York and have clients all around the world, or you can choose to focus on your local market. If you do choose to focus on your local market, you will probably have a certain advantage. And part of this is really about understanding yourself as a person, understanding yourself as a freelancer, and understanding yourself as a business. Where is it that you want to go, and what is it that you want to do? And remember, you don't need to do what everyone else does, but you definitely do need to have a direction. Once you have that direction in your mind, it needs to be backed up with activity. Lots and lots and lots of activity. It's no good saying, well, I'm going to go after direct clients, and then really not putting the work in. So to back up your plan, you need lots and lots of effort. And when do you need more effort than at any time in your business or in your freelancing operation? Well, in the first 3 years, I think, is when you should be putting in as much effort as possible, because the more you can get the message out in those early years, the more you are going to benefit from your efforts in later years. So start to think about all of this activity. I can remember the early days of my business. I was running around like crazy. I was having meetings all the time. I was on the phone all the time. I was sending emails all the time. And I really believe that that level of activity helped me to develop and helped me to succeed. So have a think about things such as, how many direct emails are you sending out every day? How many LinkedIn connections are you making each day? Of course, on LinkedIn, it's not just about numbers, it's also about the quality of those connections. And what are you looking to get from those connections further down the line? Get from them, of course, after you have given to them, after you have provided value to them first. That's another thing that is key. Always look to provide value first. Always look to help others first. How many proposals are you sending out on a weekly basis? How many meetings are you having on a weekly basis? This goes back to the metrics that I mentioned a little bit earlier. So just start that little table of metrics in Excel with a few key indicators and just measure them each week and then each month. It will really help to keep you on track. But you've got to be busy. And there's also a lot of people out there who will say something along the lines of, it's no good being busy, just being busy, you need to be productive. And I would totally agree with that. This is not about being busy just for the sake of it. It's about being busy in accordance with a specific plan. So if you can combine the two together, that's when you're going to succeed. You have a plan, you have a direction, you know where you want to go, and now you're going to back it up with lots and lots and lots of activity. What else should you be thinking about during your first few years? Well, you should start to think about your online homes. For me, the two most important online homes for a freelance translator are your own website and your Proscom profile. In terms of your website, this is something that is really quite straightforward, quite easy to set up nowadays. It hasn't always been the case. I remember when I set up my first website, I had to hire a designer to help me. I had to pay that designer to set up the website, which they did. And then a little bit later on, I wanted to make a few changes to that website, and I had to go back to the designer. They wanted to charge me again, and it all became very, very complicated and very, very expensive because I didn't know how to program, I didn't know how to code a website. And therefore, really, I had to rely exclusively on other professionals. And it was quite difficult and, as I said, quite expensive. But nowadays, it's a completely different situation. Nowadays, it's really easy to set up a website. So if you don't have a website, that's definitely one of the things that you need to do within the first 3 years. And I would even say within the first year. This is something that you really need to make an absolute priority. You can use a service such as Wix which allows you to modify templates. And it really is very, very straightforward, and you'll have your website up and running in no time. My personal preference is to use WordPress. There's a little bit more of a learning curve with WordPress, but it's not that difficult. I have now set up many, many websites, and I'm not a programmer at all. And what I do is I follow the templates. I use install different themes. I use plugins or add-ons to the WordPress functionality to develop the website in the way in which I want to, and it really is not that difficult. What happens when I get stuck? Well, then I can go to somewhere like Upwork.com or Freelancer.com and find a freelancer who is going to help me with those bits on the website that I can't solve myself. So having a website is going to really give you a massive amount of status. Remember, when someone gets in touch with you professionally, one of the first things that they are going to do is to check you out online. So they're going to look at who you are online, and having a website is going to give you massive, massive status, especially if it's set up correctly. Your website's easy to share, so you can share individual blog posts, individual sections about your services. You can share all of that with clients. Easy to share the link to a website, of course, and that is really going to help you in terms of marketing. You should also be adding content on a regular basis. Long gone are the days where it was simply enough to set up a static website and get lots of traffic directly from Google, and as a result, a lot of business. Setting up a website is, of course, the first step, but the second step, really important step, is maintaining that website. What are you doing in terms of adding regular content? Get into this routine of content creation. You might decide to write a blog post every 2 weeks or even every month. You might decide to post a video every month. You might decide to record an audio every month. Whatever it is, whatever you're comfortable with, you should be putting content out there on a regular basis. And you should be thinking about who you're going to attract with that content. In most cases, that content needs to be such that it adds value to your clients. In other words, it's something that is going to be useful to your clients, and you can then share it with them. You're building your brand, you're increasing engagement, and sooner or later, some of those readers or listeners or viewers are going to become clients. This is something that I would really encourage you to get into the routine of early on. You imagine if you create one blog post every month for the first 3 years, well, then you have 36 blog posts, 36 pieces of digital content that you can share and will really help you to increase traffic via SEO, via Google, and ultimately help you to get more sales. Don't forget to add testimonials onto your website as well. Very, very important to record everything that you do, to record your successes. And this is something that I didn't do so much in the early days, and probably I need to do more now, even, to be honest. But when you have a success, when you have someone who says, thank you so much for the excellent work that you've done, then record that. Ask them to write a short testimonial or record a short video of them. You really do need to be recording your successes. As you build up more and more successes, you are then going to have a story to tell to new potential clients. People don't like to work with novices. They like to work with experts. They like to work with people who have great feedback. And the only way you're going to get great feedback is to get out there and ask for it from those clients with whom you have a good relationship. So these are some of the things that if you do early on, it's really going to help you further down the line. I'd like to have a look now at your online hub, or what I like to call your online hub. So I mentioned those two key locations online, your pros.com profile and your website. Some people might call those the money sites. And why would they be called the money sites? Well, because that's where you are going to get paid from effectively. That's where you are actually going to make a deal with a client, carry out a translation, and then get paid. So it's really important that you have those two areas or those two sites set up correctly. I'll be talking about your Pros.com profile in just a minute, and obviously I've just mentioned your website, but it really should be a priority for you as a freelance translator to get those 2 online homes set up correctly. Once you have those 2 online homes set up correctly, you can start to think about everything that is going on around that. That is everything outside of the dotted red line. All of those other activities really are designed to bring traffic in to your website. And online there are so many different options these days, from Facebook to LinkedIn to YouTube, Instagram, and so on. And don't get overwhelmed by all of these options. Try and find the option or options that work for you. Some people love to work on LinkedIn and to post on LinkedIn and to generate traffic via LinkedIn. Others prefer Facebook. Others prefer to focus on YouTube or Instagram. So you don't need to do everything, but you do probably early on need to start thinking about how you're going to generate traffic to your website, because a great website with no traffic, well, actually isn't a great website at all, is it? Because it's got no traffic. So you need to have a good website. Content creation will help you to generate more traffic, as will sharing all of that content via social media and creating this kind of profile like you see in this example, with those different traffic sources heading in or leading in towards your 2 main online homes. So well worth setting this up from the beginning. Now it is time to talk about your Pros.com profile. Well, I think most people, unfortunately, are not getting the most out of their Pros.com profile. Are you, is the question. Are you, and what can you do to improve it? Well, there's a number of interesting things about Pros.com. And first of all, it's a massive website. It's a website that has very good ranking on Google. And therefore, if you have a good ranking on Pros.com, you also effectively have a good ranking on Google, especially for long tail keywords. So start to think about your areas of specialization. Start to think about what you offer to the market. Something like German to English translator really isn't going to compete very well. It's not going to compete very well on Pros, and it's not going to compete very well on Google. You really need to think about your areas of specialization. So whether you are a medical translator or a financial translator or a legal specialist, those are things that are going to help you to create a longer tail keyword, such as expert French to English financial translator, or even something more detailed than that. So really important that you update your profile, that you look at the search engine settings as well within the Pros.com platform. You can add keywords, you can add your native language, you can add different areas of specialization. And remember, this is effectively a platform that is being searched hundreds of times each day, but you only get out of it what you put into it. So if you don't have your profile complete and up to date, and not only complete, but also focusing on those long tail specialist keywords, then you're really not going to get the results that you are looking for. Have a look at the About Me section in your Pros.com profile. The About Me section is HTML compatible. Well, what does that mean? That means that you can add links, and it means that you can add images. It means you can make your profile much more attractive to potential clients. The content supports keyword and SEO data. And really, I think this is in common with almost anything that is happening online now. Almost anything that you type in on any platform is going to be searchable, and therefore it's really important to start thinking in terms of keywords and start thinking about building up a successful profile. So have a look at that link there when you have a chance, the pros.com/profile completion, and really make sure that what you have is up to date and complete. Another great feature on Pros.com is the ranking tool. So if you go to the link there, and it's the Guidance Center Directory Rank, it's a very interesting tool because it allows you to enter your language pair, first of all, so let's say French to Spanish, and also it allows you to enter your area of specialization, let's say aerospace. And then you can find out your ranking in the directory for that particular combination. That's really, really interesting because it's going to show you, let's say, for example, that you're ranked number 50. So if you're ranked number 50, if you're position number 50 in the directory, well, that's not a great position. It's probably something that you would want to improve upon, because just as with Google, it's really the first results, the early results that are getting most of the traffic and getting most of the business. But what's interesting about the Pros.com ranking tool is it will actually tell you how to improve. Now, Pros.com membership improves rank. Members meet clients at 4 times the rate of non-members. So if you are not already a Pros.com member, that's something that you might consider. And answering kudos questions also allows you to improve your rank. And what's interesting about the ranking tool is it tells you exactly how much your ranking would improve if you had a certain number of additional kudos points and if you had membership. So it's not about a sort of vague level of improvement. It tells you specifically how much you can improve in terms of your position. You can also investigate other areas of specialization. So you might choose not to check out aerospace, but you might also be able to translate engineering in general. So therefore you could see how you rank for that particular combination. And it's also going to guide you. You might find that your current language pair and area of specialization are really, really competitive. And you might not be able to change your language pair that easily, but you probably can change your area of specialization over time, or refine it or adjust it in some way. So what I find incredible is that there's so much information out there. You just need to take a look at it. You need to take a look at it, see where you stand, and then make a plan for the future, a plan as to where you can go next. So that's your Pros.com profile and ranking. Really, really important. Now, one of the main things that you should certainly be doing during the first 3 years is building a portfolio of clients. What's so difficult about starting out? Well, probably one of the most difficult things is that at the beginning, because it's new, you just don't have clients, or you just don't have enough clients. So you really need to focus on getting out there and finding clients. And one of the great things about that is that clients come back. I've had clients that have contacted me after a month or 2 months or 3 months. I even had one client that contacted me after 7 years. So what's great after a number of years in the business is you have all these historic clients that will keep coming back as long as you produce quality work. They'll keep going back at different times. And that means that you don't have to work quite as hard every month to get out there and find new clients. But going back to that activity, this is absolutely what you need to do at the beginning. You need to get out there and market your services. And I'm not specifically covering that in this presentation, but I would encourage you to focus lots and lots on marketing activities at the beginning of your freelancing operation. I think sometimes people spend a little bit too much time on developing skills. Now, I'm not saying that's not important. That is really, really important. You need to be able to produce quality work, and you need to be able to get better at what it is that you do, but you also need to spend a significant time on sales and marketing, and I feel that sometimes people don't spend quite enough time on that at the beginning. Another thing that often comes up is, should you work for free? Should you carry out test translations? Well, great question. Sometimes you can carry out some free work at the beginning. Sometimes that is going to help you. You just need to be careful that people are not going to take advantage of that and get you to do things completely for free that they are then getting paid for. With test translations, for example, I would recommend that you stick to carrying out a test translation of a maximum of about 300, 400 words maximum. You certainly shouldn't be translating 10 pages free of charge, unless it's for some kind of NGO or some kind of specific project or some kind of business where you know it's really worth your time. So that's something to consider as well. Another thing about Pros, another interesting feature about Pros.com is the blue board. Now, the blue board shows different ratings or different comments and feedback for different translation agencies and different direct clients. So what's really interesting about that is when you start to work with a new client, you can go and check them out on the Blueboard and check out what kind of feedback they have. You want to avoid setting up the wrong kind of relationships. What happens at the beginning? What happens when you are getting started? Well, you're looking to work with as many clients as possible, and therefore you're kind of sometimes a little bit too eager to get started without checking out the history of a particular company. Not everyone is a good client. This is the time to get into that habit of finding the right clients for you. You certainly don't want to be working with anyone who has a bad payment reputation, and you can find a lot of that information on the Blueboard. You should also be looking for recommendations from other clients. That's something that I think people don't ask for enough at the beginning. When you have your first few successful relationships, your first few successful clients, well, you've really done well to get to that point. That's one of the most difficult parts of getting started. But don't be afraid to talk to those clients and ask them to recommend you to other potential clients. That will really help you to grow, especially at the beginning. I've mentioned meetings and I've mentioned activity, and I'd like to kind of bring this together now under the title of networking. The more you can network within the first 3 years of your translation business, the more successful you will be. Don't try and do this on your own. Look for colleagues, work with them, interact with them, seek advice from them, and so on. This is an incredibly helpful industry. If you reach out to someone in the translation industry, chances are they're going to be willing to help you and guide you in the right direction. You don't need to figure everything out on your own. A lot of what you are going to pass through, someone else has already passed through, and therefore they are going to be able to help you and guide you in the right direction. Consider finding a mentor, someone who can really help you navigate the difficulties of the translation industry. In fact, at Proscom there is a mentoring program, so you might want to check that out. There are also many online communities such as Translation Mastermind, a fantastic community managed by Andrew Morris. Lots of positive energy, lots of concrete and excellent advice within that Facebook community, and you'll find a lot of experts in there, a lot of people from whom you can learn. So don't try and figure all of this stuff out on your own. Membership to the Translation Mastermind is completely free for Pros.com Plus members. Also, try and get out to those in-person meetups. I mentioned creating as many or setting up as many meetings as possible. I think as a freelance translator in your first few years, this is especially important because working as a freelance translator can sometimes be a little bit of a lonely existence. You can be working from home, you can be working on your projects, it can be a little bit frustrating. You might not know what you don't know. You might not know where you're going wrong. So if you can meet up with other people, there's nothing quite like a face-to-face meet-up. If you can meet up with other people, then you're going to absolutely learn something. I absolutely guarantee you that is going to be a good investment in terms of your time and your social connections and your networking and so on. Pros.com sets up powwows around the world, so you can check the website to see if there is a powwow in your city or in your town. And if there isn't, you might consider setting one up yourself. You can submit a proposal through the Pros.com website. So that's the Pros.com powwows. But get out there and network with as many people as possible. Try and interact with as many people as possible. Try and share your story with as many people as possible and tell them about the services that you offer. Tell them how you can help them. Tell them how you can help their business. Tell them how you can help others in their network. Because don't forget, this is not just about your network. This is about the network of everyone else with whom you come into contact. Now, I get a lot of questions about CAT tools, and I know for people who are starting out, this can be a little bit confusing. Do you need to buy a CAT tool? Can you integrate machine translation with that CAT tool? And so on and so on. And which way should you go? Well, I think the best first step is to talk to others who have already gone through a similar process. I think most translators these days are working with CAT tools, but you don't need to work with all different CAT tools. You might find one particular one that works for you. And the way to find that out is to talk to agencies and to talk to other translators. Some agencies like to work with a specific CAT tool. Some agencies like to use their own CAT tool. Many, many variations out there. There are even translators out there who don't use CAT tools at all. And it goes back to what I've said earlier, that there is no one right way of doing this. However, I think most translators are using CAT tools these days, and I think most people starting out should be looking for an efficient way to integrate machine translation and or CAT tools into their translation process. A lot of people, that's really going to help a lot of people to produce higher volumes, to produce higher quality, and so on. The absolute must in all of this is that you must find out about CAT tools, and you must find out about machine translation, and you must find out about post-editing of machine translation, even if you decide that that's not the right path for you. As a freelance translator, it is absolutely paramount that you understand what is going on in the marketplace, even if you decide that that's not the right path for you. But in terms of CAT tools, there are many, many different options available through Proscom, and many special offers as part of International Translation Day. So if you are thinking about investing in a CAT tool, then now is probably a very good time. In fact, you can check out the Proscom software comparison tool, which has different reviews and different ratings for different CAT tools, so that should certainly give you an idea. But you need to be aware of what's going on in the marketplace, and you need to figure out what it is that is going to work for you. But I think in many cases that is going to be using a CAT tool and integrating that with some kind of machine translation as well. So that will certainly give you an option in terms of a suggested translation. Now, it might not be the best option, but for every language pair, for every text, but it's certainly going to give you an option that you can then review, that you can then change and edit and really come up with a polished final article for your clients. Finally, what about some other ways to find clients? Well, I've mentioned that you should spend a lot of time on marketing, even though this presentation is not particularly about marketing. But what are some of the other ways that you should be considering getting clients within the first few years? Well, I think it's important to understand the global nature of the translation business, and that is fantastic because that does mean that you can get clients from anywhere in the world. But I would also encourage you not to lose your local focus or not to underestimate your local advantage. If you are based in Peru, if you're based in Lima in Peru, you have a local advantage in that particular city. You're going to be able to go and meet those clients or potential clients face to face. You're going to understand the local currency, and you're going to understand the local customs and local business customs and so on. So I would really encourage you to focus on building a global business, yes, but at the same time, focusing on your local advantage. A lot of people's success comes from the fact that they focus on what they're good at, and they focus on where they have an advantage, and don't be afraid to convert that advantage into business. Direct contact I find to be really, really important. You should be reaching out to people. A lot of people don't like making cold calls. I can understand that. There are other ways of doing it, however. You can reach out to someone directly via LinkedIn or via email, but you really should be reaching out to people. As you build up your website and you build up your content, you'll get better at something that's called inbound. So you will attract more clients to you naturally. Over time, you will improve your position in the Google ranking and so on. But I think at the beginning, there's no substitute for that direct contact. Get out and talk to people. Get out there and email people or contact people via a social platform, and that will help you to build your business. Also, don't forget social media without getting overwhelmed. You don't need to be on every social media platform, but you do, in my opinion, need to use social media to get your message out there. Really, really important that you're sharing blog posts, that you're sharing advice, that you're sharing testimonials, that you're sharing feedback, you're sharing your experiences, and so on. That's really going to keep you top of mind in the eyes of many potential clients. And if they see you online, then when they have a need for your specific services, who are they going to get in touch with? Well, most likely you. Don't forget that content creation, really powerful tool. Over time, you should be producing some kind of content on a regular basis. Even if it's only one piece of content every month, then remember, after 3 years, that's 36 digital assets, 36 pieces of digital content that you can then share with potential clients. So a few other ways that you might consider when you're getting started out. And finally, some conclusions. Well, I hope you found that session useful. It really is about making a lot of effort at the beginning. Lots and lots of activity, lots and lots of effort, but not effort in the wrong way, effort in a specific direction. So have your direction clear and don't try and do this on your own. There are people out there who can help you. There are mentors, there are experts within the translation industry. There are other business people who have nothing to do with translation in your particular town or city. So seek that help out and talk to people. You will find that talking things through really is going to help you and help to propel you in the right direction. I totally understand that getting started can be hard. It is tough at the beginning, but stick at it. And if you have the right approach, then that is going to help absolutely massively. Finally, one final piece of advice, and that is to focus on activities that actually produce income. When you get started, it can seem that there's so many things going on that you don't know quite where to look. If you have any doubt in your mind, focus on those activities that are actually going to lead to a new client, that are actually going to lead to business. And that can sometimes help you to decide what you should be doing on a particular day or during a particular week. Well, that's it from me. I really hope you found that session useful. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you really enjoy the rest of this absolutely amazing International Translation Day event. All the best. Bye-bye.
لو انت بتشوف ده دلوقتي فده معناه انك وصلت لنهايه الفيديو. ما تنساش تدعمنا بلايك واشتراك في القناه وانشر الفيديو لاصحابك ربما يستفادوا. القناه دي مهتمه بالمحتوى التعليمي والمحتوى الاداري بحيث انها تفيد المقبلين على العمل في مجال الفريلانس او المقبلين على ان هم يشتغلوا شغل خاص او يفتحوا بيزنس خاص. شوف الفيديوهات اللي قبل كده هتلاقي القناه متصنفه الى مجموعه من قوائم العرض او البلاي ليستس بحيث انها تفيدك في التخصص اللي انت محتاجه، سواء الترجمه او سواء اداره الاعمال او العاب الفيديو او المعلومات العامه الصحيه. مره تانيه ما تنساش تدعمنا بلايك واشتراك في القناه وسيب رايك في التعليقات او لو حابب اننا نتكلم عن حاجه معينه في القناه. وشكرا للمشاهده. اشوفكم في فيديو تاني ان شاء الله.
لا تنسوا الإعجاب بالفيديو والاشتراك في القناة تشجيعا لنا لنستمر بنشر المزيد إن شاء الله.